What's happening, lads and lassies? It's Ocean from the South Stand, back again with another video. And today I have the pleasure of talking about Sunderland 2, Crystal Palace 1. And before we get into this one, guys, I'll quickly apologise again for the fact there was no uploads last week. I actually did a double upload, like I did the Brentford game and the Everton game in one for the review. And then I realised when I was editing that halfway through, you just cannot hear any sound. And it's because basically my sister's AirPods connected to the computer just took over the sound. So you can hear her washing the dishes, you can hear her drying her hair, you can hear anything bar me talking about the Brentford and Everton games. So we're back in action, we're back at it, and back into this one with the Crystal Palace review. As always, this one's brought to you by the southstandclothing.com. So if you haven't already, go and check it out. You can get yourself hats, t-shirts, all sorts of Sunderland fan wearing merch. Get yourself sorted for the rest of the season. Get yourself sorted for 2026. And we'll get into this one. So, coming into this one, what do we think of that team lineup? Because I know there probably was a number of people not too pleased about the fact that Trey Hume was starting in a right wing position. Although when the team list, the team formation kind of came out and we got to see it in person, we seen that it was more of a 3-5-2-1, a position and a formation that I've always preferred over, because it always wound me up when Regis starts with such a flat back five. I much prefer going for that 3-5-2-1. Not a game that I expected to see that in, I'll be honest. I thought we would just go for the standard 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 as we normally go for. But seeing it today, look, let's talk about it, because I know it's actually quite a dividing topic at the minute. People are caught in two minds about Trey Hume, because yes, he's done a great job, of course, but obviously plenty of people saying what's went wrong, that we've bought all these players and we've bought these wingers and it's Trey Hume that's starting on right wing, because yes, Talby's not back at the minute, but you've got Mayenda who did a good job over the last 2 weeks. You've got Adingra who could be starting on that side if we were really desperate for it. Enzo could start on that side. We've seen Chris Riggs start on that side, although it's not something I want to see too often, to be honest. But I think a lot of people would be worrying, why Trey out of anyone? And I think it's because, first of all, it was a right wing back role, so it is a more of a full back role. But second of all, he just completely unlocks Nordy and his ability to move around the field. I mean, we'll get into it in terms of the goal scored today, but Nordy Mukiele's crossing, how good is he at delivering a ball in? And so is Trey, but Nordy's has actually been effective in turning into goals as well, which we've seen today. So I think Trey being in the lineup, not only does it offer support alongside Granit Xhaka, if no Siddiqui pushes on, if Enzo Lefebvre moves around, he can cover quite a few positions, and he's honestly a 200 grand Swiss Army knife. He's been unbelievable, especially taking that jump up to the Premier League, where he's been asked to play so many different positions, so many different styles, formations. Like, he's been really asked a lot of this season, and in my opinion, he's doing a really decent job, especially today when you've seen how involved Trey was in the build-up, in and around the final third. Let's get into actually, do you know what, let's get into the game and how things went throughout the game. So, coming out the gates, first 5-10 minutes, Sunderland really do have a foothold on the ball. Seem to be really dominating possession, taking the majority of the ball, passing around nicely. Of course, we end up getting an absolute shocker of a Granit Xhaka pass, which, I'm not going to lie, folks, if you go back and watch it this season, there's a few times this pass has happened, but today my heart was in my mouth. Granit just, don't know, kind of haphazardly passes the ball back into a dangerous position. It just was a horror pass. And look, this is just a passing comment. It's nothing about Granit Xhaka as our captain. We all know how much we love him. But he did seem to kind of not really seem too interested in tracking it back either, which I found a little bit surprising. But anyway, he gets that. They get a great chance on goal. And Robin Roos, as always, such a solid goalkeeper to have. I cannot believe yesterday was his 23rd birthday. I cannot believe that I'm 5 years older than Robin Roos. God, how does this even happen? But yeah, so coming out that first 10 minutes, they obviously get that chance. Then the half progresses. Sunderland and Palace are going back and forth. I mean, I think Crystal Palace ended up with probably 2 real chances on target, and Sunderland creating a few for themselves as well. We get to the 30th minute, and this is where Crystal Palace end up going 1-0 up through what is a bit of a funny goal, to be honest. Look, they get a corner. It's swung into the box. It's initially defended. So we get a touch on it to push it out. But then it falls straight to Pino, who's able to kind of caress it into the back of the net. A real odd goal. It kind of floated in there past everyone as if the box wasn't that full, but it truly was. And yeah, it was one of those ones where I really do think Enzo could have done better than this. When Trey sees the ball go towards Pino, he's straight out of his line going to attack the ball. Enzo was a little bit slower in reacting. I'm not going to talk too much badly about Enzo, I'll be honest, because I feel like since that Brentford game and that Panenka, which I didn't even get a chance to talk to you guys about it. That was just a shocker of a penalty. But since then, he's been unbelievable. And anyone who watches the channel knows how much I love Enzo. But yeah, today that he needs to be out and react to that quicker. I mean, he had a real chance to avoid us going 1-0 behind. And look, obviously we know the end score for this game. Sunderland win 2-1. But I admire how good we are at getting back into games. I'm just a bit concerned about how often we go behind. It feels like very often at the minute that we're going behind and either having to equalise for the draw or obviously go ahead and try and win it from there. And we've done well from it. I think we've gained 13 points from losing possession, something like that. But it is a little bit of a worry, especially when I didn't personally feel like the flow of game was towards Crystal Palace going ahead. I mean, if anything, for me, I felt like Sunderland would be the ones going 1-0 up. Doesn't take long, though, to get back into the game. The very man we've just spoke about, Enzo Lefebvre, up and involved in and around the box. So Noddy McKelly, this is when he gets his assist, swings it in, and Brian Brobby, we'll talk about him more in a bit, but Brian Brobby's intelligence and know-how to know that Enzo's beside him, he knows the defenders that are going to be full focused on him not getting the ball, but he just lets the ball go past him. Enzo's perfectly in position, ready to just slot it into the bottom corner. Beautiful goal, well-worked goal, good Sunderland goal, and we're back into things, and it kind of felt like we were restoring things a little bit because it didn't feel like the type of day where Crystal Palace were going to win this game. I'll be honest, I'm not sure what's going on with them at the minute, but they just do not seem like themselves. I say I'm not sure what's going on at the minute. We know what's going on at the minute. Obviously, the whole Gahey leaving, Glasner leaving, and also the fact that Crystal Palace have played so many games this season and their squad does just look leggy. I don't want to say disinterested because they obviously are, but it wasn't as fluid and kind of systematic and as well drilled as Ollie Glasner had them at the start of the season. It's nowhere near that. They do seem spread thin a little bit, and obviously they don't have the likes of Gahey and stuff in their team. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what was going on with them, but it did feel like the type of afternoon where Sunderland should be able to push on through, even if in the first half there was a number of chances for Crystal Palace. Something I admire about them get their game, just like the likes of Brentford with Igor Thiago, using that focus, man. I think we've been doing it better and better as Brian Brobby's really solidifying his place in the team. But they're really good at using Mateta. They can find him through the middle so often and he's able to get on the ball. So, yeah, they had a good few chances like that today and it's something that I'm glad Sunderland are bringing much more into the game. Something that I did love about this game was just how much it felt like Sunderland from the start of the season. It felt like that really energetic, excited Sunderland team that was ready to get stuff done, willing to keep going. Again, not a perfect game. When I talk about these Sunderland games being great, they're not actually amazing in terms of quality all the time, but especially in the last couple of weeks, and when Enzo takes more of his role, we see the way Sunderland are able to fluidly pass back to front. I mean, how many seconds did it take to score that goal the other week? I think we took 12 touches in 13 seconds to get it from back to front against Spurs. It was unbelievable, and we're seeing more of that in Sunderland as well. What I have loved, as I was saying though, is the return of the players from AFCON. I mean, we've just came off the back of quite a difficult period in terms of results and in terms of fixtures. We ticked along nicely, kept on putting points on the board, but it did feel like we were kind of falling away from the Sunderland that we started the season with. Last night, though, that felt as if it had been reset slightly. The energy was there. I think having Ronaldo back just makes an unbelievable difference. He's a wonderful, wonderful acquisition for Sunderland. He's been absolutely fantastic. So having Ronaldo back in that spot, having Siddiqui more than anything, I mean, Granit Xhaka is unbelievable, and he's literally been the signing of my lifetime probably. But I think it still goes unnoticed how much Noah Siddiqui does in terms of being able to give legs into that midfield alongside Granit Xhaka. I'm not saying that Granit Xhaka doesn't have legs, but when you're playing games this often into this intensity, you see it in mistakes like today, like in those kind of haphazard passes that don't go the right way. Noah Siddiqui is just absolutely everywhere, and that guy is, I don't know if he's like battery powered or something, because he's just unbelievable, and his ability to just keep going, and he's everywhere. He's link up play along the left. He can connect the left to each other. He can connect the right. He can connect through centrally. Yeah, he's been unbelievable. And having him back, having Ronaldo back, having Ballard back in the team after injury, all of this is for me just brilliant. And I think as well, just seeing Brobbey grow into that role each and every week. I think, was this the first time we've seen him play past 80 minutes? Or did they get longer than that a couple of weeks ago? Can't fully remember, but Brobbey as well, getting to I think the 84th, 85th minute before he got taken off for Mayenda. Yes, he had cramp, and we've seen that when he celebrates his goal later on, but again, Brobbey just brings so much to this team. Something that's really, I was going to swear there, something that's really winding me up though, the amount of calls that Brian Brobbey would get if he wasn't Brian Brobbey. Like, because he's an absolute unit and he's a tank and he stays on his feet and he can fight in these battles, the amount of fouls committed on that guy that just don't get given is unbelievable. Like, anywhere else on the pitch, to any other player, to any lightweight player, to a midfielder, to a winger, they would be getting the fouls. He's constantly dragged down, and people go, yeah, but look at him, he ripped his shirt. Yeah, he ripped his shirt because the guy was hanging off of him for the last 80 minutes. What do you expect? So yeah, it's really winding me up what that keeps happening. And the same again, Dan Ballard is getting wrapped up in the box every single week. I mean, he's literally carrying 3 or 4 opposition players on his back every time a long throw or a corner comes in, and it's never ever given. The refs are telling Ballard to get up, but then Ballard does the same thing to Mateta. What, first half, second? I can't remember. Around the halfway line. In fact, it's the first half because it was near their goal, and it gets given. I mean, a touch in the back and it gets given, and then to top that all off, Romain Mundo just gets blatantly pushed in the back in the box. No attempt for the ball, no attempt for nothing anywhere else on that pitch. It's 100% a foul and a free kick. But the fact that it's in the penalty box and we don't get given the penalty is ridiculous. And it wasn't even really glanced over by VAR. And I can't understand that because the Palace player has made no attempt at the ball. So what are we doing here? So yeah, it's getting pretty frustrating that ref today was just winding me up. Like, not because the calls weren't too crazy, but so we had him early in the season, right, and it was a decent game. I remember him letting quite a lot go, but none of the fouls were too egregious. And then in this one, he started off in the same nature where he was letting things go, and then because he would give one, he started just giving these calls and pulling things up and being super pedantic. The refs just in general are winding me up, and it's not something I like to spend a whole lot of time talking about because at the end of the day, it's something you can't control. You need to go out and be a good team, have a good system, have good players that know what they're doing, etc., etc. But yeah, winding me up. But look, the second half was much of the same. I think Sunderland actually ended this game on 60% possession, so one of the most possession-based games for Sunderland we've seen so far this season, but also a game in which I don't think we looked void of ideas. I think we had plenty of creativity. We had options. We were using that right hand side in particular a lot. I mean, you've seen the balls, as we said, that Mukiele delivers, so no surprise. So I've seen a lot of people talk about Remain Mundo and how he matched up to Adingra. Now, I've spoke before. I can't remember honestly if it's in the video that never got uploaded last week or if it's in a previous video. I am not massively sold on Simon Adingra. I think he's a good squad player, but I think I can see why it wasn't a mainstay part of Brighton's plans and why he wasn't a first teamer for so long. I mean, he had a great first year and a decent second year, but that was it. And we've seen him not get taken to AFCON as well by the Ivory Coast. And for me, I think I can see probably why. I think he gives off that raw idea, but I don't think you can call him raw when he's had that bit of experience. So I don't know. And then you compare it to Remain Mundo, and loads of people talking about whether Remain Mundo's actually Premier League quality or not. But I think he's already a better choice, or at least on par with Adingra. And it's a guy who's got less than 10 games Premier League experience. I can't even remember how many games Remain's played now, but Simon's played in the Premier League for a couple of years, and this is kind of what you're getting with him. With Romain, I think on the ball and technically he's still a good player. I think it's just his decision making and getting to grips with the pace just needs to catch up with the Premier League. But I think by the end of the season, I think we'll be seeing that with Romain. However, talk about all this now. We'll discuss it. We'll discuss it briefly, but we have signed another player, another winger. How do we say it? Tabby, anyone at the match today, let me know, because I know that they announced him, I think at half time. But how do we say his second name? Because I don't want to get it too close to Talby, and that's going to be very confusing. But yeah, I think we need another winger. So hopefully he is the kind of player who's able to come into the first team straight away. I don't know a hell of a lot about him, so I can't really comment. But hopefully it's not one for the future, and it's one that we're going to be looking at getting involved right away, because I do think we're still a little bit behind on our wing play, and yeah, I think we can see that come into play. Look, let's get back to the game. Moving on, Crystal Palace and Sunderland kind of go back and forth. Palace never really had any clear-cut chances in the second half, at least not what they had in the first half. And it was really Sunderland's game. To me, it just felt like Sunderland were going to get the win in this game, especially as the game progressed. Once we started kicking to that south stand, I always feel much more positive about the game. And yeah, that comes later on. Brian Brobby, as per usual, bullying defenders, gets the ball played through to him, and just a beautiful, beautiful finish right into the roof of the net. A real awkward one as well, because you would have thought he would smash it. Where he was so far to the left, he had a real kind of narrow viewpoint to the left of the keeper, but he smashed it up and over him to the right, and it was just, yeah, stunning. Straight away goes into cramp. And honestly, watching Mukiele try and relieve him of his cramp while also doing his little fist pump that he does was just hilarious. But yeah, Robbie smashes it into the roof of the net, and yeah, I just can't go for the quality of every one of his goals that he scored so far for Sunderland. They've all been stunning, and that for me really did just solidify it. It wasn't a game where Sunderland felt completely dominant, because Palace were able to cut when they got in behind. They got in behind quick and into very good positions. They just weren't able to capitalise on it in the way they needed. So grateful on the day that it chose to be obviously a Sunderland win. I think I would like to see this vein of confidence and, you know, energy, and I'd like to see this vein of confidence and energy and stuff continue, because I think we've been void of it for the last few weeks, and it's no fault of their own. We've been so stretched with the amount of players that are at AFCON, and then just a couple of injuries as well. So look, I think this is hopefully the return of that more energetic Sunderland that we've seen at the start of the season. Next week we head to West Ham to play West Ham at the London Stadium, so it's a real chance as well to put together back-to-back wins. West Ham, of course, fighting it out down the bottom, and trying to get themselves safety, so they have been putting together a little bit of form. They managed to beat Tottenham Hotspur away this weekend. However, they haven't been incredible at home, and I think Sunderland have a real chance to go down here and try and make something of it. What I don't want to see, though, is a Sunderland team that goes into away games and looks at times a bit unrecognisable to the team we get at home. I get it, safety first, but we need to go out there and try and put our front foot forward, because I don't know, it's just very off it when it comes to away games at the minute. We don't seem to have the same energy and drive as we do at home. So hopefully we can find that on the road this weekend against West Ham. But anyway, guys, that's all I've got to talk about for today. Just wanted to go on and talk about the Palace game. What did you think? Who's your favourite player, your man of the match? Get down in the comments down below, and I'll catch you guys next one. How are you, lads? Come on.